This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good Hamoed, everyone. I want to share with you what I call the secret of Hamoed. Many are unaware of what is latent in the potential of the days of Hamoed and the days in between the beginning of Yom Tif and the end of Yom Tif. We know if you look through Shas, where are you going to find the halachas of Hamoed? You're going to find it in Masechta Moed Katan. Moed Katan. Now, if we think about it, the word Moed Katan is a very unusual terminology for Hamoed. You should call it Chol Hamoed, the Chol, the secular part of the Yom Tif, the profane part of the Yom Tif. Why call it Moed Katan, a small Moed? You know, there are many things in life. They're ya, they're nish. Either they are or they're not. What do you mean Chol Hamoed? What do you mean Moed Katan, the small Moed? Why give it that name? There must be tremendous significance in this term, in the terminology Moed Katan. Another very interesting point of note is that where do you find Hilchos Hamoed? In which Masechta? Well, Hilchos Hamoed, we just mentioned, is Moed Katan. What else is in Moed Katan? Hilchos Avelos. Isn't it strange that Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi would package together these two antithetical ideas, opposite ideas? First, you have laws of Chol Hamoed and laws of Avelos. Why package together in one Masechta these two concepts, these two ideas, which are polar opposites of each other? Why would Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi put together Hilchos Avelos and Hilchos Chol Hamoed? So I want to share with you from the Sefer Maaseh Rokeach. Maaseh Rokeach was written by Rabbi Rokeach, the Abbezin of Amsterdam, one of the great Achronim. Rabbi Yaakov Emden writes that he once saw a coin with the image of Rabbi Rokeach engraved on it. The Maaseh Rokeach, Rabbi of Amsterdam, is sort of the father of the descendants of the Belz dynasty. They trace back to him. And in fact, in the new edition of the Maaseh Rokeach Al HaTorah, there's a haskama there from the Belzer Rebbe who brings down from Rabbi Sachar Doiv of Belz that learning the Maaseh Rokeach is a skula for Simcha. So here it is, it's the Yom Tov of Sukkot. So by learning this piece of the Maaseh Rokeach, it should be a segula for us for Simcha. So again, number one, why is Chol Hamoed called Moed Katan, and why did Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi group together in one Masechta the laws of Chol Hamoed and the laws of Avelos? And the Maaseh Rokeach quotes for us a Zohar. The Zohar is found in Shir Hashirim, quoted in the Beis Yosef on the Torah Orach Chaim Siman Lamed Aleph. And that is, Yom Tif is like Tefillin Shel Rosh, and Chol Hamoed is like Tefillin of the hand. Says the Zohar, the same way the Tefillin of the Yad is just a reflection of the Tefillin Shel Rosh, the same way the moon is just a reflection of the sun, so too Chol Hamoed is just a reflection of the Yomim Tovim proper. So what do we see from here? That Chol Hamoed is like the Sihara, is like the moon. Well, says the Maaseh Rokeach, we know Masechta Moed Katan has 3 prakim. What is the significance that it has 3 prakim? Why are there 3 prakim in Masechta Moed Katan? So he brings from the Mekubalim that we know had it not been for the Kitrug of the Levana, had it not been for the accusation of the moon, then the sun and the moon would have been equal sizes, right? The pasuk says that Hashem created a Shnei Hamoeros Hagadolim, the 2 great luminaries, and then all of a sudden we find a Samar Hagadol, a Samar HaKatan. What happened? If Hashem made a big sun and a big moon, then why is there a Mar Hagadol and a Mar HaKatan? So Rashi quotes Chazal that the moon was Makatreg. The moon basically said, there's not enough room for the 2 of us, and therefore Hashem made the moon small. Al Pi Kabbalah, there's a concept that all the troubles of life come from the diminution of the moon. When Hashem made the moon small, what came to the world? Misa came to the world, Avelos came to the world, Churban Beis HaMikdash came to the world. It's all a result of the Miyud HaYareach. But La'asad Lavai, the Navi Yeshaya says in Perek Lamed Pasuk Chavav, V'haya Or Halavana Ka'ar Achama. When that happens, Bila Hamaves Lanetzach, death will cease. Comes Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi tells us a tremendous chiddush. That the same way there's a big sun and a small moon, but La'asad Lavai, the moon will be like the sun. Likewise, nowadays there's Yom Tif proper, there's Moed, and there's Chol Hamoed. Chol Hamoed is like the moon. But la'asid lavai, there's not going to be a Chol Hamoed. La'asid lavai, Chol Hamoed is going to be Yom Tif. There's not going to be any difference between Moed and Chol Hamoed. Therefore, what does Rabbi Yehuda Anasi call Chol Hamoed? Moed Katan. Why Moed Katan? Just like the moon is called Ma'or HaKatan, to indicate it's only small now, but the day will come that it will be big, so too says the Maser Rokeach, so too it's Chol Hamoed is called Moed Katan, that it's only a Moed Katan now, but it will be a Moed Gadol Asalavai. Moed Katan, Ma'or HaKatan. The same way the Navi Yeshaya says, V'hoya or Alavana Karachama, it will also be V'hoya Moed Katan Kemoed Gadol. And therefore Rabbi Yehuda Anasi groups together Avelos, which is 3 letters, that's why there's 3 prakim in Moed Katan, together with laws of Chol Hamoed. Also Yareach is 3 letters to indicate that all of the diminution, be it the Ma'or Katan, be it Moed Katan, are all a result of the 3-letter word Yareach, the diminution of the moon. But when the moon gets big, and when Misa stops and Avelos is over, there won't be Chol Hamoed. So in other words, La'asid Lavai, there will be one Mesechta that in a way becomes obsolete. Moed Katan, because it will be Moed Gadol, and the laws of Avelos would stop. And amazingly, in the Maser Rokeach, in his next piece, he goes on to explain that if you look in Mesechta Chagiga Daf Yirches, it brings over there 3 braisos. The first brisa says, Chol Hamoed, you're not to do malacha ever. And there are many Tanaim who hold that way. And it brings another brisa, that you can't do malacha on Chol Hamoed. And then a third brisa that says that the malachas of Chol Hamoed are nimsar l'chachamim, to be able to determine what you could do and what you can't do. So the question is, we know that there are certain malachas we do on Chol Hamoed. How do you reconcile the first 2 brisas that you're not allowed to do any malacha on Chol Hamoed? The answer is, says the Maser Rokeach, the first 2 brisas are a remez to La'asid Lavai, when Chol Hamoed will become a Moed Gadol, like the Ma'or Gadol, and it will be Yom Tov Mamish, and it won't be called Chol Hamoed. And that is why the first 2 brisas say that you can't do any malacha, because they are talking about La'asid Lavai. Very interesting. I'll share with you, Rabbi say. We know in Masechta Moed Katan, it says that Noshim, when they would go to a hesped, when they would go to a levaya, as an expression of mourning, they would show their grief by clapping kaf al kaf, palm to palm. What's the union that they would clap palm to palm? So in the Sefer Smichas Chachamim of Rav Naftali Katz, Rav Naftali Katz was one of the great Achronim. He was the Rav in Frankfurt, in Austria, in Poznan, and in Frankfurt am Main. And actually, the Smichas Chachamim, interestingly, is buried in Turkey. And he wrote a commentary on the Mishnah, explaining the hemshech of one Mishnah from the next. And he says an incredible thing. He says, what's the inyan that women at a levaya, they're mesapek, they clap, kaf al kaf? He says as follows. If you look in the Torah, in Parshas Beshalach, the pasuk says, when Klal Yisrael did not have sweet waters to drink, it says, Vayireu Hashem eitz, Hashem showed them a tree. Eitz is gematria 160. What's the significance of that? There's a system in gematria of hitting. Hitting is a way of saying multiplication. So if you take Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and you use the system of Haka, then you get as follows. Yud Kei Vav Kei. What's Yud times Hey? What's 10 times 5? 50. But you do it the other way also. What's Hey times Yud? 50. So that's 50, 50, 100. Then Yud Kei, then Vav Kei. What's Vav times Kei? 30. What's Hey times Vav? 30. That's another 60. 50, 50, 30, 30, 160. Eights. Vayireu Hashem eights. Hashem demonstrated, He taught them the eights, the secret of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. But says the Smichas Chachamim, says Rav Naftali Katz, La'asid Lavai, not only will the moon become big, not only will Chol Hamoed become big, the name of Hashem will become big. Right now Hashem's name is Yud Kei Vav Kei. But La'asid Lavai, Hashem's name will be Yud Kei Yud Kei. So let's do the system of Hakah, of multiplication on Hashem's name, La'asad Lavai. By the way, the Arizal says, La'asad Lavai, Hashem's name is going to be Yud-Kei, Bayoim Ahu, Yihiyah. On that day, Hashem's name will be Yud-Kei. Well, let's use this system of Hakah on the name of Hashem La'asad Lavai. Yud times Hey is 50. Hey times Yud, also 50. Then again, Hashem's name La'asad Lavai, Yud-Kei and Yud-Kei. So we'll do that again to the second Yud-Kei. Yud times Kei, 50. Hey times Yud, another 50. A total of 200. It used to be 8s, 160. La'asad Lavai, it's going to be Yud times Hey, and then a Hey times Yud, and then again, 200. La'asad Lavai, the numerical value of Hashem's name through the system of Hakah will be 200. Therefore, at a Levaya, we know that Avelos is a sign of the Miyad HaLevana. But La'asad Lavai, the Levana will become Male, and Hashem's name will become Male. When Hashem's name will become Male, it's not going to be 8s, it's going to be 200. Kaf, 100? Kaf, 100? When the women would smack their hands together, kaf al kaf, what they were saying is, we yearn for the day when Hashem's name will not be 8s, 160, but rather will be kaf al kaf, 100 by 100, 200. When will that day be? That will be when the day that the moon will become big. In other words, the women's expression of grief was basically a tefillah of Bila Hamavas Lanetzach Umacha Hashem Elokim Dima Me'al Kapanim. And therefore, says Rav Naftali Katz, the expression of grief of Kaf al Kaf was a yearning for the coming of the great day when Hashem's name will be Malay. When will that day be? When there will be no more Avelos. When there will be no more Chol HaMoed, it will be a Moed Gadol, like a Ma'or Gadol. The day that Masechta Moed Katan becomes obsolete. So we have to realize that these days of Chol HaMoed, even though they today have a degree of chol to them, like the third brayso of Masechta Chagiga, but latent and inherent in these days is the potential for these days to become Yomim Tovim Gemurim. It's a day that we yearn for Bayemahu Yiyah Hashem Echad. It's a day we're mispalel for the Miloi Halavana. We should be Zoicha to the great day of Bayemahu Yiyah Hashem Echad, to the great day of Bila Malas Lanetzach, to the great day that Chol HaMoed will become a Yom Tov Gomor, to the great day when we'll follow the first two braysos, the Masechta Chagiga and Daf Yud Ches, that all malachas also in Chol HaMoed. The same way nowadays the Tefillin Shel Rosh is shining on the Tefillin Shel Yad, and the first 2 days of Yom Tov and the last 2 days are shining on Chol HaMoed. We should be zocheh to the great day that the luster and the light of Chol HaMoed shines by itself. Bayoim Hahu, Yiyah Hashem Echad U'Shmai Echad, Agut HaMoed.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.